Start. Okay, so we will start with the a discussion of case furniture. Thanks for that reminder, Teresa. I almost forgot to turn it on.
You're welcome.
Okay. Okay, so making case furniture. And what is that is about. Now, case furniture is any piece of furniture which is made up of one or more cases or boxes. The whole point of this discussion of case furniture is so that you guys can start actually designing and building your own furniture. If you can't find a kit that fits where you want it to fit, or you don't like the look of something, or you have something very special in mind. So examples include things like bookcases, shelving units, desks, cabinets, wardrobes, even tables have a basic box shape. There's the first steps in making it is to start from a picture of the furniture piece you want to replicate. And there are two great sources of inspiration. One is Google and the other is Pinterest. And I'm going to show you how Google and Pinterest both look, because a lot of people don't realize that Google does this. If you open Google, this is Google Chrome.
Thanks for interrupting you. There is a weird echo going on. I don't know if anybody else can hear it, but there's something going on, like your voice is constantly bouncing back. Can anybody else hear it?
I think somebody has their mic on.
Yeah, you should all be muted at this point.
Yeah, I could hear it as well.
Why don't you just mute everybody, Tina?
Yeah, I'll have to get out of the share first. Okay. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to mute everybody except for myself.
Tina, I think you're muted.
Am I still muted? Oh, gosh. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm seeing nodding faces. Okay, now that we've got that over with, let's go back to where we were. Okay, so this is what Google Chrome looks like. And I just put in bookcase. Now, I don't know how many of you realize this, but there's a menu across the top, and one of them is images right here, okay? If you click that images button, this is what comes up. So here's a million pictures of bookcases. Not only that, but if you look across the top, you can get more specific. So this is not a live version. This is just a screen grab, so I can't actually click on them. But you can look at modern furniture, IKEA bookcases, wooden ones, wall, living room shelf, library, storage bookcases, built-ins, DIY glass. You can also, of course, click on any of the pictures down here if you want to get a better view of what they actually look like. And this is what Pinterest looks like. Now, this is the Pinterest search thing. So you just put in bookcase. And again, you come up with hundreds and hundreds of different pictures of bookcases. That one actually, this one here, this IKEA one, this white one, that's the one we've got our library in at the church. Okay, so getting started, when you start to design furniture, what you have to do is decide the size that you need. So you may have to actually measure where it's going to go. There's nothing more annoying than ordering a kit or ordering a piece of furniture online only to discover that it doesn't fit the place you've got available in the room box or your doll's house. Standard sizes for the furniture, you can type in onto Google, just type in how big is blank. And sizing information usually appears fairly quickly. And it doesn't always have to be just furniture. I've been doing a lot of fooling around with 3D printing lately, and I've been putting in things like how big is a coffee pot? And I get information from that. Amazon also, you can search for a piece of furniture, and when you click on one of their choices, they will often give you specific measurements. Now, Barb just recently sent out a 2-page PowerPoint thing that has a list of all of the standard types of furniture that you're liable to run into and the specific measurements. So that's very, very helpful. Usually they give you both height, width, and depth. And try to find these in inches, because even though we're metric, the miniature world operates in inch and imperial measurements. So once you have the measurements, you can then do some divisions to divide all your measurements by 12 for 1 inch scale, 24 for half scale, and 48 by quarter scale. So the first thing you start from is, once you've got the picture of something that you like, get a piece of graph paper and sketch the design on the piece of graph paper as if you were looking at it from the front. Now, you've already done your dimensions, so you know that, for example, a bookcase is, let's say, 7 feet high or 6 feet high. So start out by drawing a 6-inch line on your graph paper. And then if it's 4 feet wide, then you've got a 4-inch line. So you've got a rectangle that is 6 by 4. Then do 2 more sketches, one from the side. So again, we know it's 6 feet high, and a bookcase would be, say, 18 inches deep. And then one looking down from the top. And so we know it's 6 inches wide, and now we know it's 18 inches. So you've got 3 different sketches, and include all of the basic features, like, does it stand on the legs? Is it flat on the floor? How many are the internal spaces? Are all parts the same depth, or are there setbacks? Something that is really important to consider when you're designing furniture is the thickness of the wood. The measurements that you've transferred onto your sketches are the outside measurements. The difference between the outside and the inside is the thickness of the wood. And you will have to decide what kind of wood to use. Now, sometimes this works backwards. Rather than saying, I would prefer to use X, you go look at your wood types and say, oh, I guess I'll use this one. So then you measure it to find out how thick it is. Not all components need to be the same thickness. And sometimes at the back, this is something actually I did a lot when I was in that TV show. I used a thicker piece of balsa for the back of things, because that gave me a nice wide place I could glue. Generally, smaller scales require a thinner wood. And you can also choose to mix the types of materials you're planning to use, remembering what it's going to look like at the end. Some pieces might be hidden if you want to use MDF or something. Like for the back, MDF is a good choice for the back of something. Or you could choose to use fancy veneers. Now, I attempted to explain sort of how you decide all of the different measurements. And then I thought, you know, unless you have really good 3-dimensional visual brain, it's very hard to do that. So what I'm actually going to be talking about here is doing it from scratch. Now, most of you are not going to be into the business of making kits like I am. Keep your notes, because you might want to make the same thing twice. But generally, we're going to approach this from cut, measure, measure again, cut, measure again, see what the next piece looks like. Always start with the back of your piece and cut it to the desired size. Then cut 2 side pieces. They would normally be the same height as the back. Okay, so here's a picture of a basic bookcase over here. And the instructions are fairly clear cut. You always have the side overlap the back. Can you see my cursor there? Because when you're looking at it from the side, you don't want to see a join in the wood where the back is hanging out. So you always put the side up to the back. So you put your back in place and glue one side to it. Then use one shelf at right angles to stabilize it. Once you've got it stable, you can add your other shelves. And the last thing you add is the second side. That gives you your finished bookcase. Now, I should mention, this is the exact process I used to make the kits for the sink. I started with the back and then started adding, where do I need dividers? Where do I need drawers? And a chest of drawers is nothing more than a shelving unit with drawers in it. You start out exactly the same way as a bookcase. but the first shelf is actually the bottom of the piece, and the top shelf is actually the top. So if you want 4 shelves, so you've got 4, say, rows of books, you actually need 5 shelves, 1 for the bottom, and then shelf 2, shelf 3, shelf 4, and 1 for the top. Measure the base, and this one has got a decorative base. You can see it's got 2 different pieces here. This decorative base is slightly larger, and you can see it's been sanded. This fits into it. So it's about 1/8 of an inch, I don't know. Generally, the top should also have, the decorative top would have the same size on it. The legs can be as simple as 2 blocks of wood, or you could do something like this. And if you don't have a saw that will miter that way, you can always sand it to fit. And then to finish it off, you make drawers to fill the openings. So this is how building the drawers. You have a hole now in a unit that looks something like a bookshelf, and you want to fit a drawer into it. So if you measure the inside space, that gives you the outside measurements of your drawer. And boy, you don't want it too tight. You don't want it so loose that if you breathe on it too quickly, everything falls out. But at the same time, those little tiny knobs that you use on your drawers, you'll, if it's too snug, you will just pull the knobs right off the drawer. So you've basically got 2 choices. One is to make the drawer that fits right inside the opening, which is actually what this picture is here, which means that all the dividers are visible. And you may want to do that because you may, for example, use, I don't know, for the sake of argument, basswood to make your case, but then you want maple fronts for your doors or cherries for your drawers. That would actually be a decorative element because your basswood dividers would be a different color than your cherry or maple fronts. Another one, though, is to make the drawers so they fit seamlessly together. Now, that's the way that the drawers in the sink units were made, because they actually will overlap the edges, so you won't see any of the dividers. And then it's fairly straightforward. You cut the base first, test fit it, and the test fitting for drawers is really important. Glue it to the base at right angles, then measure, see how big your sides have to be, cut 2 of those and glue them in place, and then finally measure the back and see how big that is. And you can just repeat this process to complete as many drawers as you need. A cupboard is simply a single shelf bookcase with doors and a top. And it's one of the simplest things to make. Reminder here that the doors will require some kind of hinging system. So you may want to make the sides of the doors, from something a little bit thicker to accommodate the nails or the pins. Again, put one of the side pieces against the side of the gluing jig, put the back in place, and then measure and fit the bottom and glue that into place. Add the second side. The top should fit on top of the box, not inside it. And you may actually want to overhang it slightly on all 3 sides. Measure and cut the top. Now, determine whether you want your doors to open. I remember years ago, a whole bunch of us in Chicago went to the workshop for the Cupjack workshop and got quite a lecture from Hamp Cupjack about, if you're never going to open the drawers or open the doors, why are you going to all of the trouble of making drawers and hinged doors? Just glue them in place, apply handles for visual effect, but don't even attempt to open them. I don't know how many of you actually, I know there are some people that are quite compulsive. Joanne, who built a filing cabinet in her detective's office and filled the filing cabinet with file folders of criminals that this guy was chasing, and then closed all the drawers so that she knew they were there, but nobody else would ever know they were there. But anyway, this is a simple way. This shows how to do a pin hinge, and you can do that. It's easier than doing and actually applying hinges. So that's actually fairly straightforward. So the last thing I wanted to talk to you about a little bit is that these are three basic approaches: a shelving unit, a cupboard, or a set of drawers. And you will start to see the combinations. If you put a shelving unit on top of a cupboard, you've got a hutch. If you put a drawer underneath a cupboard, it could be a wardrobe. A cupboard with glass doors over an open box with a slanted face on top of another cupboard might be a secretary. If you put a box on its side with a hinged lid, you've got a chest. All of them can be embellished and decorated. You can carve trim, you can add cabriole legs, you can put columns in there. You can make it look like anything you want it to look like. And if you've got a picture that you're working towards, you can make incredible furniture on your own. You don't have to find a kit. So anyway, enjoy designing and making your own furniture. So have I got any questions, or was that clear as mud?
That was awesome.
It's actually not that hard once you get started. And most people are afraid to start. Now that little presentation, I'm going to turn it into a PDF and I'll actually send it out to all of you. And I think you all got, Barb, are you still here? You still here, are you? Yes, well, she stepped away, but yeah, Barb also sent you one out with some actual measurements in it. So you can have a look at that. And between the two, it's a pretty simple primer as to how you start to make your own furniture. So any questions or?
Tina, I can make any furniture. I cannot make drawers.
You cannot, because why? What do you run
Well,
into?
they always, you know, they just aren't right.
Okay.
I don't know. I've been making them a long time and I haven't had one turn out yet.
They're just little boxes, that's all.
Yeah, but I
Yeah.
just make the messiest little boxes. And then when they sit like that Art Deco cabinet you made, everybody's looked mint, and there was mine, you know, all geeky. I don't know what
It's
I'm
a
doing
case
wrong.
of trial and error sometimes with drawers to make sure they fit properly.
I'm gonna definitely have to print your PDF and keep it by my workstation.
Yeah, I just
Okay.
wanted to ask very quickly. So there's no instructions with this, so it's pretty straightforward, right? When we
Well, if you give me a minute, I'm about to show about a 1-hour video on how you put them together.
So sorry. I thought we were done because
I'm not, I did at one point promise to send out some instructions, but by the time I got the video done, didn't have time to do the instructions. So I think the video is self-explanatory and it will be posted on our website. So anybody that wants to watch it can do so. And you can download it tomorrow from the Zoom site. So if you desperately, I can't see why you would need written instructions, and I have absolutely zero intention of ever turning these into saleable kits. So anyway,
Now,
okay.
I just was asking, like, because you make really good kits, so I thought, oh, maybe it's self-explanatory after your presentation now. That's what I thought. So that's why I asked. Sorry about that.
Okay, so if you could all mute yourselves again, I will go on then to the video. Now, if you've got any questions, just use your space bar and ask your question, and I will stop the video and we can discuss what the issue is, okay? Okay, have you got that?
Hi guys, today we're going to be doing a workshop on building a sink unit for our she shed. So there are two different sink units that were sent out. So there was a larger unit like this that came with a set of 6 drawers, or you could choose to put crates in there.
Tina, I can just see your file folder, not any video.
Okay, just hang on a
Like
second.
that with it.
So all you can see is the file folder. Okay, let me stop the share. Okay, let's. Okay, now can you see the,
That looks good.
Now we can see the video screen. Perfect.
okay, there you go.
Hi guys, today we're going to be doing a workshop on building a sink unit for our she shed. So
I
there are
can't-
two different sync units that were sent out.
Sorry, did
All
someone
we
have a
see is
problem?
you, Tina.
What?
No, it's Lisa. I can't see anything. I can see you, but I can't see your video.
Well, the video is me, so
Because
Oh.
there's two screens. One has Tina live and then one is the video.
Yeah.
Are you
on-
seeing?
I'm seeing her live. It's because I'm on a cell phone.
oh, okay. Well, okay.
Yeah, I think that sometimes the spotlight doesn't work as well if you're on mobile, but you should be able to manually flip to her screen. You should be able to see it.
So there was a larger unit like this.
Can you see
It
that,
came
Lisa?
with a set of 6 drawers, or you could choose to put crates in there. A smaller, narrower unit like that with doors that open. Those are both in 1/12 scale. And then small, narrow unit. And the larger one. The larger one in the smaller scale. So both of these are available in 1/12 and in 1/48. Now, you'll notice that when you received these kits, there was no instructions included with them. I'm hoping that these videos are going to be sufficient to do the kits. Now, if you really desperately need written instructions, they're not written yet, but I could probably try and put together some written instructions for you. But I think the videos should be sufficient. Anyway, I'm going to switch cameras now and we will get started on making the sinks. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the two 1/12 scale sinks because the smaller ones, the 1/48 scale sinks, are constructed in exactly the same way, but they're much harder to see on camera. So if you're doing, or the 1/24 scale, there's a couple of people who wanted these in 1/24 scale. So let's switch cameras and get going on building sinks. Okay, so let's start out with talking about some of the tools you're going to need. You're going to need an X-Acto knife to cut the kits loose from their motherboard. You're going to need a sanding block of some kind, some way of getting the edges clean and getting the tabs off. And this is a sprue cutter. You will need this for cutting the sprues off the sinks, which arrive like this. So you will need to cut these loose. And the 2 sets of pliers are required in order to create the drawer handles. Now the drawer handles are just made out of heavy duty staples. And so these 2 sets of pliers are just used to pull them loose. You will also need some wood glue. I'm using Rue wood glue. And you will also need some form of gluing jig. So let's move these aside and get started. Now I'm going to start actually with this sink gadget. Now it's very easy to lose these pieces. You'll notice on there's the tap and 2 handles. I'm not going to actually paint these right now, but what you do is you take your sprue cutters and starting at one corner, you start clipping these loose. Now, once you get a corner loose, you can just pull and pieces will come off. Okay, now that is the way you want it to come off. So these internal supports also come with it. You may end up with 1 or 2 small ones that are left in here, okay? So basically clean that up a little bit. You may want to sand it. But for painting it, you'll notice that there is actually a hole in it. Okay, I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, there is a hole in there. To paint it, I would use just a basic silver paint on this. And when you take your tap, let's take the tap loose. And the two, the tap and the handles. Now, isn't that odd? I don't know what the name is of those. Well, the controls. I would suggest that these pieces, the tap and the handles, be painted in a high gloss, like a chrome finish, whereas you want your sink to look like a stainless steel sink. I'm not going to bother to paint these as part of this video. This is something you can do at any time, but I do want to mention that if you have a chrome pen, a really high gloss silver pen, a Krylon silver will do. You can also paint around the edge of the hole. Okay, so just paint around the edge of that hole with the high gloss silver pen that matches these, but the rest of it should be more of a stainless steel look. Okay, so we're just going to put those aside. And we're going to start with the large sink. Now this comes with a lot of different pieces, some of which you may use and some of which you may not. Sliding doors, this is the sink top. The kick plate, the sink front. This is all to do with the drawers. Okay, we've got the drawer dividers and the back. These are all the drawer pieces here, which we will use 2 of them for sure. It's up to you whether you want to use the rest of them. And the 2 side pieces. Now it is important. You'll notice that there's a right-hand side and a left-hand side because these 2 pieces are not identical, and you want the scored parts, which is where your measurements are, to be facing in. So these are 2 different pieces. You're going to start with these and your back. So we'll just put this aside for the time being, and we will get out our large going jig. Okay, so X-Acto knife, we're going to start on the right-hand side, and we're going to cut free.
Actually, that was wrong. I started on the
piece.
left-hand side.
I'm going to repeat that. It's just the edges here. If you are going to stain the sink, you stain it at this point. Okay. If you're going to paint it, you can assemble it and then paint it. Now, you'll notice that these are not the same thickness, okay? And the difference along here is the thickness of the wood, because one piece, oh, just a minute here, I've got the, start out with the right-hand side, I meant to start with the left-hand side. So, okay, let's do that again. We're going to work from both of them, but I like to start with the left, actually. And the reason, how do I know that which is left and which is right? Well, you'll notice that these side pieces have a notch in them. And any sink, if you look in your kitchen or at a desk, they always have a kick plate that stands out. So we are going to start with the left-hand side. And again, they are different sizes. You can see where the thickness of the wood is. Because this piece is going to go into the corner of your gluing jig like that. Sand that a bit more. And we are going to keep using only wood glue. We're going to put a bead of glue along the edge of the back, like that. Now, I always run my fingers along like that to get some of the excess glue off. Okay, and we're just going to put it together like that into the corner of the balloon jig. Okay. Now, this is the other piece, but you are going to need a piece that says this one, drawer dividers. Now, you're going to need 3 of these, and they go on next. So I'm going to cut these on loose. And we're not trying to do anything fancy with the sanding here, but we do want to make sure that there's no little tabs. Now these dividers go in like that. Okay, so we are going to put glue along 2 sides of this, bottom and one edge. You will see on the inside there are score marks. These dividers go just above, so the bottom just lines up along there. Okay, so and of course I put the glue on the wrong 2 sides. Okay, I'll
Like,
put that
this is the
again.
one you're making, right?
And so we want this to line up like that, just underneath. You see that? So we've got to get it square. It's very important for this top one particularly because the 2 side drawers are going to fit in there. Okay, so there you've got your first divider in. Now, let's try this. We'll make sure. Okay, this is not a square. This is a rectangle, and it goes in so that this is the side. The short side is the one that goes against the divider. Okay. So add some glue. Again, we line it up just underneath the scored line. And then lastly, this one. Now, when you do the bottom one here, it actually lines up with the, okay, you see here where the kick plate goes. So your divider actually goes into that little slot there. So the bottom of it is lined up against here and the top is up there. And we are then going to put some here. Like that. Just going to rest that there for a minute, let it get tacky. while I put some glue on the edges of these dividers. Now, I've really managed to glob the glue on there, so let's see if we can clean it up a little bit. This is where I always stain first, because if you're sloppy with the glue as I am, so now you take your other piece and your pieces line up. Making sure that your dividers line up evenly with the square marks on the inside. So there's your first side of your sink unit completed. And now we are going to do the same thing with the other side. Now I've already cut out the side. That is okay. When you're designing a kit like this, you start with the back. I always start with the back anyway, because that is the one that really determines your size of the whole thing. And if you want it 4 inches wide, you make it 4 inches, you cut your piece of wood that is 4 inches. Minus the 2 widths of the outside pieces of material. You want your edges, your sides to go against this because it will look better from the side. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take this out. It's okay. I'm going to turn it around. So again, making darn sure, okay, don't forget you've got 2 pieces here. They are not the same size. That is the size that goes on the inside. This is the side that goes on the outside. Making sure that these notches go to the front. So what we are going to do here is we're going to put a bead of glue. Actually, I think it would be easier to put the bead of glue on here. What we ever did without these needle nose applicators.
Tina, can I ask a question real quick?
Got the right piece.
Yeah, go ahead.
How many drawer dividers are we supposed to have with the kit?
There should be two
Set?
sets. There's 2 separate pieces of wood. They each have 3 sets of drawer dividers and 3 sets of drawer bottoms.
Yeah, I only got 1 set with mine.
Oh, you're kidding.
No, I got 3 drawer bases and 3 drawer dividers in total.
There should be you're sure there's not another piece in there?
Positive, yeah.
Another whole piece of wood.
No, there isn't.
Oh, Lord.
We could figure it out later on, I guess, eh?
Yeah, I can, I'll just make a note to send you an extra piece.
Yeah. It happens. Okay.
Because
thank
they were cut, the entire kit was cut from one piece of wood and all the pieces were collected up and put in a bag.
well, I'm just going into the other bag and all I've got is center bottom doors, outsides, and sink front and kick plates. No, there is no extra. I don't know what happened to the little guy.
Well, as I say, that's odd, but I will send you a set, okay?
Okay, thanks. Sorry, guys. Okay.
Tina, I also have a question. Maybe you explain it, but I'm like the lines that we see here, are those the end of what they like? How do you put the shelf? Like, is it above the line or
No, as I said earlier, they go below the line so that the top of the wood hits the line.
Okay, perfect, thank you. Okay, I missed that, I'm sorry.
Okay. Okay, any other questions while we're stopped? Okay,
I want the wider one for the outside. Yes, the wider one for the outside. And we just push it into the corner there. And we start on our dividers again. This one is always a little more awkward to do because you've got, oops, it helps if you, this time we're starting from the bottom. Making sure that that is square. Doesn't look very square, actually. You've got time to adjust this a little bit when you're putting your inner side on there. Clean it, stuck to my fingers here. Okay, and then the second piece. Goes on like that. And making sure that it's square. And where I've got my mouse pointer. Okay, that doesn't look very square. Let's square that up. And then finally the last shelf piece. Those look reasonably square, but we won't be sure until we get the last piece on. So because of the, okay, I'll get, oops, get our glue along here. Now I'm using wood glue. You could use tacky, you could use Well Bond. There's a number of different glues that you could use, but I like the Rue glue because it goes on. It's quite a liquid glue, and particularly for quarter scale, you don't get a lot of extra bulk because it's surprising how much bulk actually a piece of glue actually creates. Okay, so now line that up, and this is our opportunity before the glue is completely dry on these dividers to line them up against the score marks like so. And there's our second side of the sink unit. Okay, now where is the piece? Looking for this piece here, okay? That is your bottom shelf. Now, this is the point at which I cross my fingers and hope that everything actually fits together. This should slot right into here. And it's a little snug, so I'm going to do a bit of sanding on one side. This is all very dependent on how you might have applied your glue, or whether or not you squeeze tightly on the two sides to make sure that they're properly set up. So you trial fit it and then sand it so that it goes exactly snugly between these two sides. And I still don't have it quite snug enough. Okay, there we go. It now fits. So I'm going to turn this around. You can see that the glue is drying fast enough that I'm able to continue working. I don't have to sit and wait for the glue to dry, which is, if any of you know me, it is one of the things that I do very poorly, is waiting for glue to dry. Okay, so let's get this into position. Oh dear. What was I saying about letting glue dry? This all came apart on me. So I'm just going to. Okay, so let that be a lesson to us all. To make sure that the glue is dry before we put any pressure on that bottom plate. So if you're doing this, I would suggest you wait a little longer than I did. You won't have to rebuild it as I did. Okay, so we've got everything going well now. Okay, the next piece that you're going to need is this long piece here called the kick plate. Sand that. Okay, now this. I'm just going to put more sanding on that. Okay, now this fits right across here. Okay. So we need to put glue along here and here and here and here and along the top edge of the kick plate. Now, if you've done a remarkable job of assembling this so far, the kick plate should snug up the bottom of the center shelf into the
Whoever's sanding, please mute themselves.
now then.
I think that's
Now that
actually
we've
part of
got
the
that
video,
piece
Lucille.
all assembled with the kick place in place. One last thing we're going to do before we one last thing we're going to do, and that is we're going to go back to this piece here. Okay. And we're going to cut out this piece here. Doesn't want to come loose. Oh, that's why, because there are two of them in here. Now that's odd. I wonder why I cut two of them in there. You don't need two of them, you only need one of them.
That's not true. You do need to.
And I've just realized that the door slides or the sink front braces are in with the 1/12 kit when they should be in with the narrow, the wide kit, and they should be in with the narrow kit. So now we're going to see if that will fit in there. And no, it's a little bit too long. So I'm going to cut this down a bit. Don't sand this one, actually. Cut just a fraction off the end of it because it's going to sit in here. Like that. I'm going to sand this well to get rid of all the laser burn just because it looks nicer that way. That fits right in there. Oh, I know why there are two. That was a silly thing. Okay, so that's going to go in there. So this goes in, whoops. Like that. For the bottom one, it doesn't really matter if it's all that snug. But when the top one goes in, it's got to be quite snug. Okay, so with the top one, I'm going to sand one side of it so that it gives a nice finish. Make sure that it's a good fit. It's going to go right in here. But you're just test fitting it at the moment. That's all you're doing. You want it to be a fairly snug fit so it will sit by itself like that, okay? So it will just support itself. Don't do it yet. Take it out. And now we are going to find the doors. Here are the doors. Okay. And again, let's sand it to make sure there's no tabs on it. Okay, now you will notice that the door pulls are not centered. Okay, so you want to put them in such a way that they are slightly towards the top of, so this is where the top would be. And you put them in like that, so the doors will slide like that, okay? Now, the doors are not glued in place. What they do is they fit into the slots here, okay, like that. And like that. So there's one in the front slot. And there's one in the back slot.
This is the most frustrating part of the assembly.
Just leave that there for a minute. Now this is a tricky thing to do. I would suggest that you make sure that your slots are What I'm going to do is I'm going to put some glue on the two ends of this. And I'm going to put it in place on top of the doors. Now, this takes a light touch because you want to make sure that the doors are in their respective slots. And in the slots at the top as well. It doesn't want to stay in the top slot. That door's not behaving well for me. So you want it to go in place in a way that will hold the doors in position, but not so tight that they can't slide. Now, when I did the prototype for this, it went together a lot easier. So I'm just pushing down on this. I'm just pushing down on this so that the doors will get into the slots, and it means turning it upside down, and that's why that's not working, because that's not in the slot. Ah, there, you hear that click? That was the door going into the slot. Okay, there we go. Of course, all of the glue has come off my edge pieces here, so I'm going to try and just slide some in here. This door does not want to stay in its slots. You know, in hindsight, I think that it might be a good idea to get a square file and make sure that the slots are holding those doors properly. Now, if you're never planning to open these doors, or you don't want to put anything under your sink, you don't have to worry about this, just glue them in place. But if you want them to actually slide, then you better be careful and make sure that your slots are holding the doors properly and they will slide back and forth. Okay, so there, I think that's, okay, I think I've got that. Okay, now I'm just going to put that aside and let it all dry while we take the drawers . Okay. So for each drawer, you are going to need a drawer base. In fact, we're going to do 2 drawers, so we're going to use 2 bases. Okay, 2 bases. Now, I gave you enough that if you want to put all 6 drawers in, you can. But the bases are all the same size. Okay, so we're going to do, I'm just going to do one sort of on camera, and then I'm going to pause the recording. And so where's my smaller? That on one side, and then I'm going to take a smaller jig here. Okay, so, and for each drawer we need a back, two sides, and a front. So Seems fairly straightforward, doesn't it? So we just need to sand all the edges of this so that there's no little tabs sitting out. Okay, so now we've got all of our pieces. Okay, so we start out with the back. The back is, see, it's shorter. The back is shorter than the two sides. So make sure that you get the back. And we're going to put glue on one side of the drawer base. Oops. Stick it in here. Put glue on one side of the drawer base. And while we're at it, we'll put some on this side as well. And they just go together at right angles with the. We're going to quickly put glue on the side. Push that up to it. And then the other side. So I can get this. This is always tricky because the glue isn't quite dry yet. So I'm just putting some glue on side pieces. Side piece on, so now you've got your three-sided drawer. These are actually pretty quick to make. And then your front. The front's a little bit more complicated. Okay. Now, we need to make sure that's not glued to the jig. Okay. And we are going to put the front on it. Now, you should really let these dry
Can I ask a question?
thoroughly before you start doing this.
Yeah, Teresa, you got a question?
Yeah, sorry. Is it like in a drawer you have 5 pieces, not 4, right?
Yeah.
So in the kit here, there's only like I don't know. What about the bottom?
The bottom is on the other piece. It's on the same piece as the dividers.
Right. Sorry about that. I got it. Thank you.
Okay.
But in the interest of time, I'm just going to now your drawer front has to be centered. Okay, you'll see that it is wider than the drawer itself. This is because it's important that it covers the edges of the wood. All right. So if you look at the top of this, you will see that there are 2 pieces of wood there. You want your drawer to cover that. Okay, oops. Now I'm going to just put that aside and let it dry. Well, we go on to do, so we're just going to let that drawer dry. I'll go back to the main cabinet piece. I'm not going to do the other drawers. Not on camera, you can do those on your own. Okay, now let's go back to the, where is it? Okay, you'll see in this piece it says sink front braces. So we need to cut these out. You don't need pieces this big, actually. You could get away with smaller pieces, but the reason you need this is because you need something to support your sink front. Okay, so they fit right in here. Just above your
I'm sorry, can I ask a quick question?
sliding piece.
Yep.
I got distracted by my cat and I didn't hear what part you said you're currently working on. What's the piece?
It's the side front braces. Okay, it's just two little pieces of wood. It was on the same piece as the drawer slides and the center bottom thing. And they're just to support the shelf, the sink front.
Okay, the sink front braces.
Yeah, sink front braces.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
So we just need to put some glue there. And glue it in place like so. Making very sure that the top is not sticking up because it will hold the it will cause the top not to sit properly. So we'll glue the other side here. Just above where the door pieces are. Okay. Now we're going to go back to this piece. So that's finished. We'll go back to this big piece with the, you might as well cut out the sink top. And the sink front.
Tina, sorry, I have a quick question about the sink top there.
Okay.
If you wanted to like make it like marbleized, like, you know, with that it's a peel off tape that you can actually get like the dollar store even. Would you do that before you glue it on, or can you do it after?
Yes. Yeah. You if you want to make it look like marble or glue on a finish or paint it a different color, all of that kind of finishing work should be done before you do the final gluing of the sink top to the unit. That is also true of the main unit. So if you wanted it a stained unit, that you should have done before you even start, while it's still all in the motherboard. Otherwise, can complete the sink unit before you put the top on and do all of your painting then. So there's a number of ways to finish the, I've got some instructions actually somewhere around on my website. There's a little PDF on how to make something look like marble.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
but yeah, do it first before you glue it in place.
Okay, thanks.
That almost seems to be muted.
And that just to get it ready. And the same thing with this. Sand this. Now then, this now fits across the two braces and covering the side of the sink like that. Okay, you see that? So we need to put glue on the edge of the braces, not on the edge of the drawer, because we will end up gluing our drawers in place. Okay, so I guess we should put some glue on here. And pop our sink front in place. Now it's important that this be lined up against the top, so you don't want your you want your top to fit smoothly without any gaps. So make sure that that is. Okay, now you can see, if you look down from the top, that there are actually edges there, so that when you take your drawers and pop them in, they will line up right next to the, oops. So you can see that your drawers now fit in exactly next to the thing. I should sand that a little bit of that. Get some of that laser burn off there. Now you see that I've already put the handles in these. You can split off these staples one at a time. See, they come off quite easily. And these are an exact fit for the holes that have been drilled in your drawer fronts. Okay, so you can see that they will just slide in there. See, and you can glue them in place and have them out as far as you think looks good. Once they're glued in place, you can take your screw cutter and just cut off the excess staple so that it fits snugly and your little drawer dolls will not scratch their fingers when they're opening the doors. Okay, so the last thing we have to do with our creation here is put the sink top on it, and I see, there it is. Okay, so we've got the sink top, and it is just centered on the back. And your sink and your so your sink just drops in there, and your painted faucets and handles are glued into the three holes. And there you go. You've got a completed sink unit. Okay, so off camera, I glued the sink unit in place. And now the only thing we need to do to finish it off is to put our milk crates in there. Of course, I should be filling them up with craft supplies first before I put them in, shouldn't I? There we have our unit with doors that actually fiddle with them, actually slide. Yeah, my doors don't want to slide. Anyway, that's your finished unit. Now I'm going to start again partially on the the small unit, because there's the only thing that is different about the small unit and the big unit. There are fewer pieces to it, for one thing. So let's start on the smaller unit. We need the back, and we need the two sides. These pieces out of the way here. We don't need those anymore. Okay. This one is very straightforward, very easy to build. Okay. Now, this is the way the three pieces go together. Oops. So we just need to put a bead of glue along here. Making sure that you've got this kick plate to the front. It just goes together in a right angle like that. And sorry. And let's find the center shelf, the center bottom shelf. And we it's just going to fit across there like that. So we're going to move on three sides here. All three sides, Tina. And again, it just should go below the score mark and line up with where the kick plate is going to go. Okay, so that goes in fairly smoothly. And then we can just put a bead of glue along this edge. Not the back edge, you'll notice it's going to be just the side edge, because it's going to snug up to the side of the sink like that. And then making sure that the bottom shelf is lined up with the kick plate. Okay. Now we're going to take I'm not going to do the complete full assembly of this because it's pretty straightforward. I just want to show you with the doors how I use them. Or again, it's up to you. If you're not planning to ever have these doors open, you can just glue them in place. Okay, so we're going to put some glue along here for the kick plate, along here, and then along the top edge of the kick plate. Just it's like that up to the edge. Okay, now next thing we need is from this piece, and it's the sink front. I'm going to cut the countertop out at the same time, and then I can get rid of the excess material. Okay, again, sand your edges. And repeating again, if you're going to stain it, you should stain before you glue. If you're going to paint it, you can paint it afterwards. Okay, so this just goes straight across the top. So we just need glue on those two edges there. And this lines up from one edge to the other, making sure that it is flush at the top. Okay. Now then, your doors. I'm not going to bother to put the hinges in, I mean the handles in, but it's the same staples so that they fit. And these little bit tabs off. Okay, now it's not wanting to stick properly. Okay, so your two doors are going to go like that. And as I said, if you're not ever planning on opening this cupboard, you can just glue it in place like that. And then your sink unit, your top sink unit goes just on top, just the way the other one did. So this just fits on top with the same, arrangement of the taps and everything. However, if you want to have them open, the easiest way to do this, oh my heavens. Let's just ignore the fact that that glue is not dry yet. Okay, if you're doing this yourself, please wait for the glue to dry. Now, you can actually get dollhouse hinges, but this wood is very thin. So something I've discovered that is an easy way to create a hinge is actually with tape. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to run a piece of tape. Where's my scissors? Okay, so all I've done is I've run a piece of tape down there. Now, what you do is you put your door like that. So it's on the outside of the unit. And you just fold the tape down. Okay, like that. So I'll see if I can pick this up and show you. You see there that the door is on the outside, so it is flush with the edge of your cabinet. Okay. Okay, so now this is where magic happens. What you do? Well, all you do, first of all, is you make sure that you've actually got it lined up so it will actually close. Okay. And you just close it. And hold it in place for a minute. And there you have a working door. Okay.
Tina, do you think you could open?
It opens and closes, and it's just done with tape. Okay. Well, that completes the workshop on the actual sink units. You can just put the other door on. I would, by the way, put your handles on these doors before you hinge them onto your cabinet. So you could have the door open and have all kinds of things showing underneath. Or you could leave them closed and glue them in place. Your choice. Okay, so there we go. That's how we make the sink units. Now, if you're doing the 148, the quarter scale version, they go together exactly the same way. The only difference is that in the cabinet, I didn't hinge the doors on the prototype, but I suppose there's no reason why you couldn't just take a tiny piece of tape and hinge them the same way as I did the doors on the full-size unit. So I hope you enjoyed that, and we'll go on from there.
Thank you, Tina. Thank you very much.
That was really good, Tina. Thank you.
That was great.
Okay. Well, it's fairly, as I said, it's fairly straightforward. And within the next day or so, I will have it up on YouTube and then linked into our website. And the initial one on building case furniture, I'll turn into a PDF and I'll actually email it to all of you. That's just to give you some ideas as to how you get started to pick out your own design. But it describes pretty accurately exactly how I proceeded to figure out the sinks. I started out saying, okay, how big should the sink be? Well, I knew that the counter had to be 36 inches because that's the standard height for a counter that you're going to stand at and work at. So I knew it had to be 3 inches tall. Then I wanted my crates, my milk crates. I had 3D printed those, so I knew how big the crates were. And I knew I needed about an inch inside measurement to get those 2 side cabinets. Okay, so there's 2 inches. How big is the middle? How big is the sink? Okay, so that worked out to another few inches. And anyway, as I built up the kind of picture, now, of course, I was doing it in CorelDRAW. I wasn't doing it by hand, but, well, I shouldn't say that. I had scribbled a sketch of what I wanted it to look like, and then just started building up piece by piece. And you can do that with any piece of furniture. So I would really encourage you to try designing and making your own furniture. It's fun to do, and it always fits where you want it to go. Okay.
Tina, just one last question. I know you explained it, but it was a little bit muffled, and I was doing it along with you. The front of the drawer, is that like centered like that from the side, or?
I have no idea what you've got in your hands there. Is that the drawer?
The drawer, yeah. The front part of it.
It's flush at the bottom.
Okay.
Flush at the bottom and centered side to side.
Okay, thank you.
That way there's a little bit of a lip, Teresa, at the top, and
Yeah.
that will actually cover up the divider of the above drawer.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
Perfect.
so it covers everything then.
That's
Okay.
awesome. Love the work.
And if you run into any problems that re-looking at the tape doesn't help, just drop me an email and I'm sure I can figure out what the problem is, okay?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Any other final questions?
No, this was fun.
Can I have a question on the painting of these little pieces? You
Which,
said,
I can't see what you got in your hand, Teresa. Is that the sink?
oh, sorry, it's the sink?
Yeah, yeah.
Paint like from, you had said kind of a metal, like.
Well,
some-
actually, if you use an acrylic paint that
Okay.
says it's silver, on the gray, it actually comes out looking like stainless steel, which is what you want it to look like.
I have one if you want to see what it looks like. I used a chrome marker
Okay, let me.
in case you're curious.
Okay, sure.
I haven't painted the real deal yet because I wasn't sure if it would be insane, but before you mentioned to try it, I used the scrap piece of plastic
Yeah,
that it came with, and sorry, it's kind of hard to focus.
Yeah.
But that's what it looks like. It's pretty shiny. So I used the liquid chrome marker. It's just what brand is this? Molotow, the original. It's liquid chrome marker. It only comes in silver, but it really looks like metal. Like it's a super shiny metal finish.
Yeah.
And this is the same material that was just the screw from the inside of the sink.
Okay.
yeah.
So I just did a little test. It looked really good.
I would recommend strongly using either a Krylon pen or those liquid chrome markers for the
Mhm.
tap and the 2 handles.
Yeah, this might be a
Except
bit
for the sink
shiny for the
itself.
inside of the sink.
For
This
the
is a
itself.
very
An
metallic.
acrylic silver paint, just, you know,
Mhm.
Americana or whatever.
Okay.
That, it doesn't have the high gloss shine of the, as
Yeah,
Nikki showed you. And
this would be like a
that-
chrome sink.
your sink comes out looking more like stainless steel than a chrome tap.
Okay.
And the hole in the sink,
Yeah.
if you've got one of those, pretend this is one of those Krylon pens. If you just put it in the hole and rotate it, just the tip of it, and just rotate it, it will give you a really shiny edge to that hole. Another thing you can do is you can get, you can find the right size. You know, snaps, push snaps.
Yeah.
The side with the hole in it, not the side with the little knob on it, but the side with the hole in it. If you just glue it on top of that hole, that's a very effective look for having a basket in your sink hole.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
So they come in all kinds of different sizes, up to about 1/4 of an inch. So you need to get a pretty small one, but I know they come in about that size, and you can just glue that in place. And of course, when you're putting your sink in, make sure that the hole goes towards the back of the sink, not the front, because that, well, sinks always have the hole at the back. If you're going to have your doors open, here's another little hint for you. If you get a bendable straw, you can buy them. So my husband used to use them all the time. Invalids use them, where you could bend the end of the straw. So there's a flexible piece in the straw. You can bend that in a U shape, put it under your sink upside down, and you've now got a trap.
Oh, cool.
Painted silver, and you can actually see the trap underneath your underneath the sink.
That is brilliant, Tina. I also want to say, you can also make the sink black or you know, the copper, like white for ceramic. Like, just, you know, we can have fun with it, and then we can glossify any white paint, for example, just to give some ideas.
There's actually, if you go into Home Depot, it's not in the paint section. I forget where it is, but you can buy a little bottle of what's called porcelain touch-up. That comes out as a porcelain finish. So if you want a white porcelain sink, go find that. The other option would be whiteout, although that tends to be lumpy unless it's brand new. You'll need several coats of white and then a gloss coat to make it look like porcelain. But this porcelain touch-up that you can get at Home Depot, it's a very effective look for a sink.
And a huge, is it a small jar or a big one?
No, they're about that big. They're like, you remember what whiteout jars are like with the little brush in it? That's what they're like. They're for when your kid throws his Hot Wheels at the fridge and chips it, and you fill it in with this porcelain touch-up.
Oh, I think I need that for some of the damage I've done to my own sinks from 3D printing, and I didn't know that existed.
Yeah, also, if you've had a tap dripping on a white porcelain sink, sometimes the porcelain disappears and you're down to the cast iron. That's what that product is actually made to fix. So, but I've used it on things that I want to look like porcelain, and it works really well for miniatures.
Yeah,
that's really cool.
I watched that little Gretchen dollhouse person, and for underneath her sink, she uses like a juicy box, you know, the little juicy boxes for children. She uses those straws because they got the bendy piece, and she said they're the better scale than using the big straws.
Oh, you're probably right, Lisa. They would be a better scale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like from a Kool-Aid jammer or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice.
You know what, all the juice boxes now, I used to buy them for my grandchildren. They all used to be in the plastic straws, but now they're coming up with just all the paper straws now. So
as long as they've got a bendy bit in them, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
Or if you really wanted to get creative, you can get what's it called? Styrene sticks.
Mm.
And if you heat them with a heat gun, you can bend them. That takes a little more time and effort, and it's white, but you can paint it silver if you can't find the straws. But that's only if you want your doors open. I mean,
Yeah.
or, I mean, you could make, if you're going to do it in your craft room, you could have quite an assortment of stuff under there. You know, you could have buckets and cleaning supplies and all kinds of things, and with your doors open. Speaking of doors, I forgot to mention for the 1/48 scale sinks, I didn't include anything for door handles. On the large version of the 48 scale sink, the doors don't slide. They just are glued in place. Or you could hinge them like on the other one and have them open. But I didn't put in anything for, where's my stuff here? What I did do in the prototype, if I can find my prototype, I just cut, I used the same staples, and it was actually the piece that I clipped off from behind. And so it was just a little straight piece of wire. And I just glued it upright on the two sides of the sink, and it looks like handles. Ah, here we go. Okay, I don't know if you can see that. So let me spotlight it.
It is so tiny.
Okay, can you see that? Those little handles there are just straight pieces of wire. And the tap, there's only one hole in the quarter scale ones. The tap is just another piece of bent wire, because there are some 3D printed ones there, but I like the look of the wire myself, so.
Yeah, that's too small to see on the screen, but thanks for showing us.
Yeah, anyway, so, or you could use a tiny, tiny bead as a handle. It's entirely up to you what you want it to look like. Okay.
Thank you so much, Tina.
There's nothing particularly, just to finish this off, there's nothing particularly scheduled from now until August the, oh, help me out here, Maureen, 19th. I'm just not sure of the date in August. Anyway, we're going to do a workshop at Maureen's place, a face-to-face workshop. Would you believe it? No, pardon me, the 13th. The 13th on acrylic pour painting. I did send out an ad for it, but also there will be a lunch. So if you don't want to do the acrylic painting, but you want to come and see people for lunch, let Maureen know. Other than that, it's just chats from now until the first meeting in September, when our new executive, Kathy Verbicki, and Erica and Sandra Kitchener or Story, I can't remember, as treasurer, the new executive will be taking over anyway for the first meeting in September, and it will be a busy meeting because we will be getting ready for the show and sale. Okay.
All right.
So have fun, and we'll see you guys next Tuesday for a chat.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank
bye.
you.
Again.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you.
Bye.